Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hi everyone, welcome to lecture number 28, the third lecture on compensating wage differentials. In our last lecture, we discussed about the supply to the risk jobs and the demand for the risk jobs, and both these supply and demand for risk jobs, how they determine the market compensating wage differentials. In this lecture, we will discuss about that, can this compensating wage differential go in the wrong way, which means will it be possible that the risk jobs pay lower wages than the safe jobs. So, sometimes it may happen that if fewer workers, they are enjoying and working in a job environment that have high probability of injury, and if this type of jobs demand relatively fewer workers, then this market wage differential will go in the wrong way. If you remember, we discussed this demand and supply forces, how they decides that the market compensating wage differential is positive. So, if you remember, on this x axis we have taken this number of workers in the risk jobs, and the y axis we have taken the wage differentials between this risk job and the safe job. And we have seen that the supply function is upward sloping and the demand function is downward sloping. At a certain level of high level of wage differential, the demand for the risk jobs may be 0. We have seen that at a certain minimum level of wage differential, the supply of workers to this risk jobs may be 0. And this intersection of this supply and demand curves, they decides that how much of workers will be employed in a risk environment at what compensating wage rate, and this compensating wage rate, which is W1 minus W0, W1 is the wage rate in the risk environment, W0 is the wage rate in the safe environment. This differential here is positive. So, up to this point, we have assumed that all workers, they dislike risk, but it may be that some workers, they prefer to work in risk jobs where they face that high probability of injury. Let us say some persons, just like motorcyclists who fly down the highway at 100 miles per hour without helmet, actually get utility from working in the jobs where they can test their courage. So, the reservation price for the workers who like risk is negative, because they are willing to pay for the right to be employed in risk jobs. So, in that case, the compensating wage may be negative, and sometimes it may be lower than the safe wage rate from the safe jobs. So, in this case, the supply curve allows the possibility that some workers have negative reservation price, and therefore, they are willing to work in risk jobs, even though risk jobs pays them less than the safe job. Let us say the demand for workers in the risk job is very small. There are many examples. Let us take one example, that an extremely limited number of job openings for test pilots and astronauts. Sometimes we have seen that those who do these stunts, motorcycle stunts. So, if some workers like to work in the risk jobs, they are willing to pay for the right to be injured, and the demand for such workers is small, then in that case this compensating wage differential is negative. Let me explain it through the help of this graph. Now, in this graph on the x axis we have taken the number of workers in the risk job. After a certain number, this number becomes perfectly inelastic. So, this is the supply function. We are saying that the supply function starts from the minimum point where we are finding that this wage differential between this risk job and the safe job is negative, which means the risk job, wage from the risk job is less than the wage rate from the safe job. And there are fewer workers and there are few demands for this type of workers in the market. So, the demand function is downward sloping, and the interaction between this demand and supply happens at point P by deciding that E star amount of workers are employed at the wage rate W1 minus W0 star. This is the compensating wage differential, and this compensating wage differential is negative, which means the wage rate in the risk jobs are less than the wage rate in the safe jobs. So, the market demand curve in this case would be then intersect the market supply curve at a point which is below that point where, if you look at the figure, it is P, which implies that there is a negative compensation and the wage compensating wage differential for E star amount of workers in the risk job is negative. Now, even though almost everyone in the population they dislike risk, the demand for labor in the risk job also very small, and the firms they are offering risky work environment need only hire those workers who are willing to pay to be in those jobs. So, the equilibrium explained in the figure, it reinforces our understanding of exactly what compensating wage differential measures. Now, even though most of us would think that it is sensible that the theory should predict that workers employed in the risk job should earn more than the workers those who are employed in the safe job, it takes two to tango. Now, if some workers are willing to pay for the right to be exposed to the high probability of injury, and if the demand for these type of workers is sufficiently small, then the market differential will go in the opposite direction. Now, the question is that why do this compensating wage differential often go in the wrong way? What could be the possible reason? Theoretically, we have seen that yes, if it happens in this way, then this is going to be the negative. The compensating wage differential is going to be negative, but why it is going to be negative? Our theoretical discussion suggests that why many empirical tests of this theory of compensating wage differential will inevitably contradict our expectations. Simply put, the correct direction of the wage differential typically reflects our own preference and biases. Obviously, we are all reasonable people. So, jobs we find disagreeable should we pay more. However, the theory indicates that the market compensating wage differential measures what it took to get the marginal worker to accept the particular job. Now, if the marginal worker happens to like being employed in the risk jobs or being told what to do on the job, then the market wage differential will be in what seems to be in the wrong direction. And this compensating wage differential can sometimes seems to be going the wrong way because they do not always align with our intuitive expectations. Let me discuss few reasons why it might happen in that way. The risk is very subjective valuation. Now, different individuals may value job characteristics differently. What one person finds undesirable, another might not mind that much. So, for example, some workers might prefer the flexibility of irregular hours even if it means a low pay, while others may prioritize and stabilize the higher wages. Further, there are so many non-monetary factors which influence this compensating wage differential. While taking into consideration the risk jobs and the safe jobs, compensating wage differential consider both monetary and non-monetary aspects of a job. Non-monetary aspects like job satisfaction, fulfillment, or a pleasant work environment that can influence the worker's decision alongside the wages. Sometimes workers give more importance to these characteristics than wages. So, in that case, a job with a lower wages might still attract workers if it offers a desirable non-monetary benefits. The workers often do the trade-offs, trade-off between different job characteristics. So, a job with higher wages but longer hours or greater stress might still be appealing to some individuals if they value the higher income enough to compensate for these negative attributes. So, while going with this compensating wages, the workers they do these kind of trade-offs. Further, while going with this compensating wage differential, the individuals they perceive the risk. So, the perception of risk can vary among the individuals. Some workers may willing to accept higher risk in exchange of higher pay, while others they prioritize the safety. This may go for a lower wages and with prior safety. So, therefore, this compensating wage differential for the risk jobs might not always result in significantly high wages if the worker perceives the risks differently. Further, different market forces may compel that this compensating wage differential to go in wrong direction. Like market conditions, when we talk about market conditions, it includes the demand and supply dynamics. So, this demand and supply dynamics can influence the compensating wage differentials. In some cases, despite undesirable job characteristics, there might be surplus of workers, those who are willing to accept the job. So, in that case, the wages are going to be lower than expected. So, these are the factors which may lead to this compensating wage differential to go in a wrong direction. So, in essence, compensating wage differentials reflect the complex interplay of individual preferences, market forces and subjective valuation of the job characteristics, which can sometimes leads to the outcomes that seems to be counterintuitive, which means the compensating wage differential can be negative. Let me give you some examples of compensating wage differential where we can see that it can go against these conventional expectations, like lower wages for hazardous jobs. While one might expect jobs with a high level of risks to offer significantly higher wages as compensation, this is not always the case. Let us say, for example, studies have shown that some hazardous jobs such as logging, fishing may offer wages that are not proportionally higher compared to the less risk occupations. So, this could be due to the factors such as the availability of workers willing to accept the jobs, lack of unionization, inadequate regulatory. So, these are the things which in those cases we can find that this compensating wage is going against these conventional expectations. Further, in the cases like lower wages for the job requiring higher education, in those cases this compensating wage differential may go in a wrong direction. Like occupations requiring advanced education or specialized skills often come with higher compensating wage differential, because the individuals, they have already done a huge amount of investment of time and money to get those skills. But in certain case fields like academia or certain public service roles, wages may not reflect the level of education or expertise required. Like university professors may earn less than the professionals with similar educational background in other industries. So, in those cases we can say that the amount of time and money invested to acquire those skills, the compensating wage for those should be higher, but we have seen that sometimes it may go in a wrong direction, they are less paid. Further, lower wages in desirable locations, it may happen that sometimes people prefer to stay in their desirable location with a lower wage rate, they do not want to move from their places. So, it is common to assume that jobs in desirable locations with high living costs would offer higher wages to compensate these expenses. However, in some cases the attractiveness of the location itself can be a compensating factor. So, for instance, jobs in the cities with high cultural amenities, vibrant social scenes or desirable climates might offer the lower wages compared to similar positions in less attractive areas, because the location itself serves a non-monetary benefit. Further, higher wages for undesirable tasks. Certain jobs, they require unpleasant tasks such as sanitation works or cleaning hazardous materials might offer lower wages than expected compensating differentials. Like in those cases, factors such as availability of labor working to perform those tasks, low unionization rates or lack of public awareness about the risk involved, the kind of work they are doing, or the some kind of discrepancies are there. So, these kind of situations may lead to a compensating wage differential in a wrong direction. So, these examples which we discussed, how compensating wage differential can sometimes defy the conventional expectations due to variety of factors such as market conditions, societal norms, individual preferences. So, these are the factors, these are non-monetary factors play a significant role to go compensating wage differential in a wrong direction. While talking about this compensating wage differential and the job amenities, compensating wage differential refers to the additional amount of income that workers require to accept undesirable job characteristics or to forego desirable job amenities. These two things, they are having a trade-off. So, job amenities can include factors such as work environment, job security, flexibility and the benefits they are going to get from the job. Now, while understanding the compensating wage differential and job amenities, it is crucial to analyze how different job characteristics influence the wage rates and labor market behavior. If you remember, by definition of this compensating wage differential, these compensating wage differentials are the wage differences that arises to compensate workers for non-monetary aspects of different jobs. Now, these aspects can include both positive and negative job attributes. Well, there are some negative job attributes like risk and hazard. Jobs involved with a higher level of risk or danger typically offers higher wages to attract workers willing to accept these risk jobs like construction workers, miners. unpleasant condition. Jobs with unpleasant working conditions such as extreme temperature, noise, physical discomfort may also pay higher wages, like waste management workers. Irregular hours of work. Jobs requiring night shifts, weekends or irregular hours often come with a wage premium. Emergency room nurses or security guards. So, these are the negative job attributes which leads to a compensating wage differential to be positive. They should be paid at a higher wages. There are also some job attributes which are positive, like job security. Jobs with high job security might pay less because the workers value the stability, like government jobs. Further, the positive job attributes like work-life balance, health and retirement benefits. So, jobs offering flexible hours, remote work options and the generous leave policies might pay less. These amenities are highly valued, like in tech industries. They can work from home, flexible work hour. Further, jobs with comprehensive benefits packages, retirement benefits, health benefits, they offer lower salaries because these benefits contribute significantly to the overall compensation. So, the jobs are attributed with some positive attributes and some negative attributes. While talking about these job amenities are the non-wage characteristics of a job that affects the worker's overall satisfaction and utility. This can also include a variety of factors, like there are certain positive amenities, there are certain negative amenities. Positive amenities like work environment, company culture, professional development. When we talk about work environment, clean, safe and aesthetic pleasing workplace can attract workers even if they are paid less. Supportive and inclusive company culture can increase the job satisfaction and reduce the turnover. Further, these opportunities of training, career advancement, skill development can attract the workers despite they are getting initial low wages. So, these are some positive amenities of job. Some negative amenities of the job are there like stress level, physical demand, geographical location. High stress jobs might need to offer higher wages, attract to retain the workers, air traffic controller, stock trader. Physically demanding jobs like require higher compensation to attract workers like manual workers, warehouse jobs. Jobs in less desirable locations might need to offer higher wages to attract workers like remote or economically depressed areas, remote village areas. So, job amenities are both positive and negative attributes are also there in job amenities. Now, the role of compensating wage differential in the labor market can be studied from both labor supply and demand. What we have seen is that workers make decision based on the total compensation package, which includes wage and job amenities. On the other side, the employers adjust wages to balance the supply and demand for labor considering the desirability of job attributes. So, both the workers and the employers they take into consideration the job amenities and the job characteristics. Now, workers preference, individuals preferences for certain job amenities, it may vary. Some workers might prefer higher wages despite of poor working condition, while other might prioritize this job security or work life balance too with a low wage rate. So, the market equilibrium happens with this demand and supply and decides the wage rate. In any job, it reflects the compensating differential required to attract and retain workers given the job specific characteristics. So, high risk or unpleasant jobs need to offer higher wages, while jobs with the positive amenities can offer lower wages. So, understanding this compensating differential helps in designing policies aimed at improving the workers' welfare like minimum wage laws, occupational health and safety regulations. Further, it helps to understand the benefit mandates. So, it is required to understand the policy implications. One has to understand why their compensating wage differential is there and how much it is there in order to draw certain policies. So, policies that improve job amenities can reduce the need for high compensating wage differential, leading to more balanced and equitable labor markets. So, in summary, we can say that this compensating differential and job amenities are critical concepts of labor economics. They explain how various job characteristics influence the wage structure and workers' behavior. They also highlight the complex interplay between monetary compensation as well as non-monetary job attributes. So, these monetary compensation and non-monetary job attributes together shape the labor market outcomes. So, while concluding this lecture on this compensating wage differential, we can summarize that the workers' reservation price, it gives the wage increase that will persuade the worker to accept a job with an unpleasant characteristics such as risk of injury. Every worker, they have their reservation price to get into a risk job. So, the workers will switch over from a safe job to risk job if the market compensating wage differential exceeds the workers' reservation price. This is from the worker side, the supply side. Further, on the other side, the farm choose whether to offer a risk environment or to offer a safe environment to their workers. So, farms that offer a risk environment must pay higher wages, and the farms that offer a safe environment must invest in safety and they will pay lower wages to the workers. So, the farm offers whichever environment is more profitable. So, ultimately the farm's objective is to maximize profit. Whether to go with a risk environment or to go with a safe environment, the farm has to calculate that which environment is going to be more profitable for him. So, the market compensating wage differential is the dollar, the amount which is required to convince the marginal worker, the last worker, to hire, to move to the risk job. So, if few workers are enjoy working in the jobs that have high probability of injury, and if this type of job demands relatively few workers, then the market wage differential will go in a wrong direction. So, the risk jobs will pay lower wages than the safe job. We have seen that by convention the risk jobs should pay more wages to the as compared to the safe jobs. But in certain cases where the demand and supply is very less, this may go in a wrong direction and the risk jobs may get low wages. So, there is a marriage of workers and the farms in the market. It is a match made. The workers who dislike particular job characteristics like risk of injury match with the farm that do not offer those characteristics. Workers who like characteristics match with the farms that provide them. The allocation of labor in the labor market is not just a kind of random allocation, it is a match made. So, in our next lecture we will discuss about the wage structure and the wage distribution in the economy. We will discuss about how the wages are dispersed and they are skewed, and we can measure the inequality that occurs because of these earnings and why did this wage inequality happens in the economy. Thank you.